Hello, and welcome back to our Gone Solo Troika campaign. I am Royce Rosewood, your host and storyteller. So before we get started, just a couple of things to go over. In the last episode, we were talking about a beast, and I called it a frost bee or a frost bug, and I kind of went back and forth, but we have settled on frost bug. That is what it is. So that's what it is going forward. So there's one thing out of the way. And then the other thing is I was looking at the rules and the mechanics, and there's a whole system that I haven't even touched yet, and that's called luck. And it's a way to, there are some mechanical ways in which luck interacts with the other mechanics. Like it's a way that you resist magic, and you can increase damage, and it breaks ties in combat. But there's also sort of like a general way in which you can use luck to get out of an unfortunate circumstance. So I'm just going to bring that to the front of mind because I want to use the rules as written, and I want to engage with the mechanics as they're written. So if you see me testing luck that I haven't done yet before, that's why. So on our last episode, Magnaza was on her way to Queen's Shadow, a place where she believed that she could get training or have the opportunity to pursue her dancing. But when she got to the docks, she looked in her bag of money and found it empty. So she suspected Pointage, the only one who knew that she had that money. And so she went on a search for Pointage, did not find him, but found someone who claimed to have seen a dwarf of that description, and this was Teegem, the quixotic champion. Unfortunately, Teegem has his own agenda. He is trying to protect his village of Godsrain, which is up at the top of an enormous tree, from a frost bug. And so Magnaza agreed to help Teegem because also Teegem said that the frost bug was guarding some treasure. So she figured either way, either she could get a lead on Pointage or she could help defeat this frost bug and get the money that she needs. So, but it turns out Teegem is incredibly incompetent and incredibly unprepared. He didn't even have a weapon or a sword. They met a blacksmith on the way, but they didn't have any money. So Magnaza pretended to be a healer and used the placebo effect to cure a nauseated orc. And they used the money from Shake, the nauseated orc, to pay for the longsword. And now her companion is equipped. So that's where we're at. I did roll up some stats for Teegem. They are bad. It doesn't look great. And since he's an NPC, he doesn't really have any skills either. So yeah, he's almost worthless, but it's a stat block. It's there if we need it. But Magnaza might be on her own for this frost bug, so we'll see what kind of challenge it is. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so they are after a few delays, to equip themselves with a weapon, or Teegem at least. They are on towards the massive tree that is Godsrain, or the village is Godsrain at least, up at the top. So they're on their way. So the question that I have is, obviously they have to ascend, they have to get up the trunk of this tree, this massive tree. And I just don't know, is that journey a perilous journey? If so, then that means Godsrain is a little bit cut off from other things, right? If it's very difficult to get up and down this tree trunk, then they're a little bit separated from the rest of the world. But if it's not, then there's sort of an easier path. So that's my question for the Oracle today, or to start off. Is the journey to Godsrain up the trunk, is it a perilous one? Yes. Okay, so that means there are dangers on the way. Okay, so we'll just sort of let our event roll kind of filter into that and see what that might be. So let's get our tables. All right, let's roll here on this event. What's going to impact? We've got 3. We're going to roll on our thread table. All right. And that's 2. Interesting. So the thread that I've rolled up that's going to impact is Pointage dreams of destruction. So not only are there perils on the way, I think Pointage is here. So, and maybe wants to destroy this big, beautiful tree, right? He wants to destroy beautiful and unique things. Maybe he wants to destroy this tree. So how is he going to go about doing that? Has he stolen the explosive suit from Keg Olympus? He knew where it was, but Keg Olympus is a very powerful wizard and would have been able to protect it by magical means. So I don't know if Pointage by himself would have been able to steal it. So one way or another, he's on his way to destroy this tree. Well, I'll just ask the Oracle, does he have the explosive suit? And we'll kind of work backwards from there. No, he does not have the explosive suit. So he took his money that he got from the job and now has some other, has been able to purchase some other method to go on with this plan. So tell us about that. Story dice. All right, so we've got a fairy and a bubbling cauldron. We'll say it's some kind of potion that he can take that gives him wings and gives him the ability to spurt acid. So he'll be able to fly around the trunk and spew acid on it. So, this is very weird and very interesting. I knew Pointage was going to come back at some point just because he's on the thread tables, but here we are. Magnaza and Teegem, now equipped, Teegem equipped, head towards Godsrain. So in the distance, the giant tree looms up over the horizon, and they can see, even from here, up in a large canopy, there's a large section of that canopy that is white, frozen over, glistening in the sunlight. And Magnaza looks and says, is that where we're headed? Is that where the frost bug resides? Teegem says, yes, it has plagued my beautiful homeland for too long. Oh, it pains me. It squelches my heart to see our tree so frosted like this, but we will not stand for much longer. We will ascend the tree, and we will destroy that frostbug. But something is already going on. So Pointage is already at work. So how far along is his plot? On a scale of 1 to 6, 6 being he's almost complete. 2, okay, so he's made some progress, but he's just now getting started. So as they approach, they see this sort of buzzing, flying figure, kind of a short, stocky figure, but it's got these wings, and he's spewing, this acid. So there's like this acrid smell that wafts over, and the smell of like burning wood from the trunk. And he's buzzing around, and there's a path that he's made all the way around. Seems like a really inefficient way to chop down a tree, but anyway, this is the plan that Pointage has. So they're looking, and as they approach, Magnaza says, I think I know that dwarf. He looks different because he's got wings now, and he's spewing acid, but that might be the dwarf that has stolen my money. All right, so what are they going to do? She's going to challenge and confront him, because remember, that's who she's looking for. That's what all of this is about. She shouts, you, Pointage, you dwarf, I demand to speak with you. I need to know how Pointage is feeling, so I'm going to roll on this mean chart. We're sort of working backwards, because I don't really know what he's been up to. How's he feeling? 113, admiring. Admiring who? What, the Magnaza or the tree? The tree. Here we go. So Pointage comes down and says, my erstwhile companion, how strange to see you again. Behold, this magnificent tree, this triumph of nature. And Magnaza says, yeah, it's great. What are you doing? Pointage says, I am destroying it. I must. Something inside me compels. And so I am, bit by bit, acid by acid, going to take down this tree. And of course, Teegem is totally, this is his home, right? This is his beloved home who he's trying to protect. He says, absolutely not. You must cease and abandon this plot. This is my home, and I will defend it with my blade. And Magnaza says, Pointage, did you steal my money? You were the only one who would have known that I had the money. Did you steal it? I don't know. No. Pointage says, I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever happened to your gold, that's between you and someone else. I did not steal your gold, Magnaza. When we left the palace of Myconet, I went my separate way to obtain the means by which I might destroy this tree. So, no, I'm sorry to hear that your gold is no longer with you, but I had nothing to do with that. Now, it's possible that he might be lying, but I don't think so. I think somebody else ended up with Magnaza's gold, or something else happened. So, well, Pointage doesn't have Magnaza's gold, but he is attacking the tree that belongs to Teegem. So, what's happening here? Like, we're going to try to talk him out of doing this. Teegem says, cease and desist. You must not destroy this tree. Whatever villainy you have planned, take it elsewhere. I cannot stand for such a thing. And Magnaza says, yes, I've agreed to help him. So, Pointage, this isn't, whatever you're on, whatever you're doing, stop it right now. Well, I guess we'll just kind of roll. All right, so she rolled a 7. And as did Pointage. It's they're tied. They tied. They both rolled 7. They both have a skill of 5. Well, this is the kind of situation mechanically I could roll for luck. I could try to roll under 8 and lose luck. So is Magnaza's luck on her side? Are they able to talk Pointage out of this? All right, 8. So they sort of lock eyes, and there's a very tense standoff, and if this were an anime, there'd be close-up shots of both of their eyes and going back and forth, and you're not really sure what's going to happen. And finally, Pointage relents and says, very well, I will give up my plot. I will go find something else beautiful to destroy, not this magnificent, glorious tree. I will move on, but only because... Why? There's something about the experience they had together that, even though it was brief and they didn't really seem to connect, something about that means something to Pointage. So Magnaza is able to make some kind of connection, and so Pointage agrees to go off. He, with his new pixie wings, kind of flies off into the distance. Teegem says, thank you. Oh, strange fortune that you should have worked with this dwarf before. And I said, I know it. That was the dwarf that you were looking for? Magnaza says, yes. Oh, that's very different than the one I saw. They did not have wings and was not spewing acid from his mouth. And he says, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. He doesn't have my gold. So the question is, where is my gold? I think we're going to call that scene there and make a new thread. What happened to Magnaza's gold? Great. But there are still other perils. What's ahead? Okay, so so I rolled a Medusa. So there's some sort of creature. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually roll on the book monsters table. What is the creature who lives here that imperils this journey and cuts Godsrain off from the rest of the world? 54, it's a salamander. Let's see what that means. A star creature that sailors are accustomed to removing from their golden ships like terrestrial barnacles. They are attracted to the heat of the sails and interfere with their correct operation if not dealt with. When removed, they are low and squat, so dark as to force your eyes to run off them, so hot that you can feel it from across a room. They move like tar, slow then fast, able to expand themselves to attack, in the moment looking like quickly blooming rose. Even fatalistic golden sailors are careful when poking at shadows. So in the book here, it describes salamanders as, creatures of heat that are attracted to golden sail barges. So maybe this is where the eggs are laid, and they hatch, and then being up in the sky, they're able to somehow make their way onto golden sail barges. So that's kind of cool. They seem kind of tough. So we'll see, but we know that maybe sort of a baby form, sort of a younger form. Teegem warns Magnaza and says, "So, as we ascend the trunk, be aware. The young salamanders make their home here. This is where they grow in their egg sacs. So we must be careful not to alarm them. So be aware. Be safe." Okay. So I imagine there's some sort of kind of like on a Rocky Mountain path where there's like stairs cut out of the stone. There's sort of a ragged, jaggedy staircase that's cut out of the bark of the tree that kind of goes up and around, and the bark has crags and notches, and so that's the path that they have to wind up, and so some places are maybe a little bit more taken care of than others, and so they're heading up and up and up, and so they come across a nest of these growing salamanders. So are they able to sneak past? So we'll roll for Magnaza. She does have a sneak. She rolls under 6. No, she fails. Well, I could try to spend my luck to see if we could avoid that bad roll. Let's try it. Yes, okay. Great. Isn't that luck handy? But we are now running lower. So how the luck works is whether you succeed or not, you have to lose 1, and then every time you test it, you have to roll under your new number. So as it gets harder and harder to successfully get lucky as you go on. But she does have an item that helps her gain luck. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, it just so happens that the winds of fate are with her. And Teegem, and she puts her foot as they're coming around this. I assume it's some sort of black shadowy sack that's sort of pulsating, and maybe there's like a fiery glow inside. We're just making stuff up, and she steps on a piece of bark and it breaks and it tumbles down, and they all freeze, and they sort of look over to the egg sacs, but nothing moves, and they're able to continue on past. So that's something to note about Godsrain. There are salamander eggs. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if that'll come back. That's an interesting thing to me. So they sneak past, and it's a long and perilous journey, and as night is falling, they're finally exhausted from all the climbing, make it up to the village that is up in the tops of the trees. So my question is, because we know what Teegem is like, are the villagers happy to see him? That's my question, and that'll tell us sort of how the rest of this encounter goes. No, absolutely not. So I think what this was is I think the village sort of conspired and came up with this plot to get rid of Teegem being so brash and so incompetent. They saw that he sort of latched onto this idea of this quest to go off, and they said, yes, go, get out of here. And they didn't really expect him to come back. So night is falling, and they approach, and so they come into the village, and so there's all these, large, massive branches, branches the size of, massive rivers, and, whole neighborhoods, on these branches that are going up, and there's, houses and buildings sort of in the middle of the tree, but then kind of extending out, and the buildings get smaller and smaller as you go across the branches, and maybe there are buildings that are hanging and walkways, and it's a whole village up here. And so Teegem sort of marching past and sort of attracting attention. People are poking their heads out of the window. It's like, is that Teegem? Is that Teegem? And he comes in. Maybe there's like a central, in the middle. There's sort of a plaza, and you want to say a fountain, but I don't think there's maybe some kind of fountain, or maybe some sort of central statue in the central plaza. And he comes and he says, "Citizens and peasants and people of Godsrain, you have sent me on a quest to find heroes to join me in the fight against the Frostbug. And I here have returned with such a hero, the famed and valiant and magnificent Magnaza, the Wizard Hunter." And everyone is like, whoa, Teegem was not supposed to come back. We did not expect him to come back. We thought the salamanders were just going to eat him, or he was going to fall to his death. But odds beyond odds, he is here. So is there a leader, sort of a representative? Let's see. Let's roll on our NPC chart. 266 is a phlegmatic. I might have to look up that word. I don't know if I know what that means. 265, sailor. So phlegmatic means stoic, calm, unemotional, good quality in a leader. So I made this list, but these words they come out of the book, so I don't know what all of them mean. So, and a sailor means that, to me, that this person used to be like a golden barge pilot, and has retired and is now assumed sort of the care and leadership of Godsrain. What's their name? So we got sleeping and dancing, or dozing, maybe dozing and dancing. We'll call her Dozence. As they're in the plaza and people are gathering, out comes this quite formidable looking woman, a little bit older, scarred and weathered face, and a brow that looks like it's seen a lot, been around the spheres. Maybe she still wears her sailor's jacket, her captain's jacket, and so she comes out into the plaza and says, "Teegem, what a surprise. We did not expect you back so soon, indeed, at all. And here you have brought help. And Magnaza, was it? Yes, I have agreed to help Teegem. Is there some sort of problem?" That's the question. Dozens says, well, no, not as much. They do want to solve the problem of the frost bug, right? Like, that it is a problem, I assume, if it's freezing large swaths of their tree and territory, but they wanted to go about it in a different way. We know that they wanted to get rid of Teegem, right? And that's sort of an independent question about whether or not they want to send a party to go slay the frost bug. Maybe they're worried about angering the frost bug. Like, maybe right now there's sort of a stasis where, like, yes, the frost bug is a problem, but we don't really want to spend any more resources or time or sacrifice any more members of our village to take care of this problem. Does Dozens want to put any more effort into getting rid of the frost bug? No, absolutely not. So, while it is true that this frost bug has plagued our village of Godsrain for some time, I am not willing to sacrifice any more of my people. We've reached a stasis. The frost bug has claimed its territory, and there we are. Do I like it? No. But what choice do I have? I cannot spend any more lives on this problem. We will have to find some other way to live with this frost bug in peace. So, and then Magnaza starts to get a little worried. It sounds like, well, this sounds like a nasty monster. And Teegem says, we are not afraid. It is our own choice whether we wish to take on this beast and slay it once and for all. Magnaza's with me. Aren't you? Well, is she? She's here. She's gotten this far. There's treasure, apparently, frozen in its lair. What's the problem? Like, what's the threat of the frost bug? Dozens seems to think that whatever they've reached is acceptable. Let's roll in our story cubes. So it's a vial. So the liquid in that potion makes me think of blood and, like, draining blood. So I don't think the frostbite is actually drinking their blood, but I think it's sort of weakening them, like as the cold air and, like, I assume magical frost sweeps in through part of the village. It's like making people sort of sick and ill. It's not killing them, right? Because then otherwise the calculus would be different. Dozens is willing to accept sort of the feebleness and the weakness that is plaguing her people over actually sending people to die. She said she's lost too many people, so that's the situation. So as Magnaza looks around, she sees people who are coughing or hunched over, and maybe they have, like, bits of frost kind of stuck to them. And she can see, a large section of the population is afflicted with this magic frost. Does she want to help? Does she want to get involved? Well, here's a question. She has this ruby lorgnette, which is an item that she started with that allows her to see sorceress activity, i.e. wizardly activity. So she is going to use them. She's going to pull them out. They collapse. And so she unfolds them. She puts them on. There's these round ruby glasses. And she's looking around to see if she can see any sorcerer's activity. So she succeeded on her roll. So the question is there sorcerer's activity? Is this the work of a sorcerer? Yes. So that changes the calculus for her, because we know Magnaza does not like wizards. So as she's looking for her, she sees the telltale signs. Maybe there's sort of tendrils that are coming off for, whatever evidence that she has that says this is definitely the work of a wizard. So Magnaza looks to Dozens and says, "You may or may not have known this, but I can tell through my lorgnette that this is the work of a wizard. And I will not stand by and watch as these capricious, unfeeling wizards inflict illness upon the regular people. I cannot stand by. And so while you may not be willing to sacrifice any more of your people, my life is my own, and I choose to spend it how I wish. And if that is in search of slaying magical beasts and hunting down wizards and taking all of their treasure so that I can go do what I want, i.e. become a dancer, then that's my choice. And I'm going to do that. And I think Teegem is with me." And Dozen says, "Very well. Your choice is your own. Teegem knows, the village knows where the frozen corridor is. You may be on your way. Best of luck. It was nice to meet you, but I do not think that we shall meet again." All right. So there we are at. We're going to call that a scene. They've made it up here. They've scoped out the situation. Magnaza found that it's wizards afoot. And so she's on her way. So I think we're going to call that one. We're going to stop it there. And on our next episode, we will go hunt and see if we can slay this frost bug. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you have been enjoying this, please like and subscribe and share with anyone who you think might be interested. And so we can share this fun, spread the fun. Until next time, you're awesome.